There is a space in my heart. I find the truth, find me in you. A truth beyond what you may see now. But when we are one, even more good about who or what you call yourself, or where you come from. Yeah, there is a place in this world with open arms right now. Welcome to love. Welcome to be who you are. Let your light shine. We're so much more when you are. Welcome here. You are welcome here. Even the wise and the bold, grace and let go. Trust the flow. There's a people in love when you follow your heart. Together we are stronger than we could ever be apart. No matter who or what you call yourself, or where you come from, yeah. There is a place in this world with open arms right now. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to power, community. Be who you are, let your light shine. There's so much more when we nothing. You are welcome here. Breathe in slow. Welcome to love. Welcome to peace. Welcome to our community. Be who you are. Let's shine. There's so much more when we unite. When we unite. We unite. How y'all doing? Oh, there I am. Wow. It's Tabby that says, I love the sound of my voice amplified. Us performance people, we know it. So welcome to Center for Spiritual Living Ocala, this place of awesomeness that we just love to hang out together and learn new stuff and hear about new stuff, and where spirit recognizes spirit. And thank you so much for coming and spending your time with us today. There's so many places y'all could be, but here you are. And I'm just so grateful that we get to share your energy today. How many people are excited to be here? Yeah, I don't believe y'all. How many people are excited to be here? Yeah, exactly. Right. Absolutely. And so we'll to tell you a little bit about ourselves here. How many people is the first time, if you're brave enough? Wow. Oh my goodness. Round of applause, everybody. Again, so many other places you could be. And here you are today sharing our space with us. So I really appreciate you guys. Our vision here at Centers for Spiritual Living is that we are a model center for spiritual living as evidenced by the transformational impact we have in our spiritual community, which is right here in this room. The CSL organization, the 350 plus other CSLs all over the world, and the community at large, which is planet Earth and all of our solar system. Isn't that so great that we are impacting the solar system right now? Isn't it so awesome? And welcome to those who are watching online. How y'all doing? Hey. Our mission is to empower individuals to awaken to the power and presence that lies within and all around them so that they may live their very best lives. If you are walking in this, and this is who you are as well, empowering individuals to be their very best self, then this is the right place for you. This is what we are all about, no matter what we do. Our values, we chose these as a community, and I'm thinking we're going to be doing it again here soon. Spiritual growth and practice. Actually, usually y'all say it after me if you feel the same value, right? With lots of enthusiasm if it's important to you. So spiritual growth and practice. What about love, appreciation, community, freedom, creativity, health and wholeness, generosity, financial well-being? I know that's right. I felt every single one of those values, and thank you for lining up with my values. And I appreciate each and every one of you one more time. So without further ado, are we going to do a music or a spiritual mind treatment? Mind treatment? Okay. Reverend Peggy, do you feel like doing that with us? She's doing another treatment? Ah, it's so. All right, so this is the song. This is Loving Kindness by Karen Drucker. So Karen's going to sing, and it's a chant, and you're invited to sing along with her. And just internalize it.
May I be peaceful and at ease, and may I be happy.
Pretty easy, right?
May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease, and may I be happy.
Pretend you're in your car, somebody just cut you off.
May you be filled with love.
Can you imagine that for them?
May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease, and may you be happy.
How about right this second?
May you be filled.
Can you look at somebody and say that?
May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease, and may you be happy. May we be filled with loving kindness.
So you think about the whole world
May we
and everything that's happening.
May we be peaceful and at ease, and may we be happy. May we be filled.
Think about war, children being hurt in this very moment. Somebody may have just taken their life. It's a painful world, man.
And may we be happy. I am filled with loving.
I'm looking at Ace. He's well.
He is peaceful and at ease. I am happy.
So even in the middle of all of that pain,
I am filled
you can do this
with loving kindness.
because you are. Your heart is beating. Spirit is doing stuff for you right now. Cells are turning over.
I am happy.
I'm instilling something else into my body.
I am filled with
It doesn't have to be cortisol, adrenaline. It can be dopamine.
I am
We can let go.
I am happy.
Just in this moment.
I am happy.
And you can bring yourself right back here.
I am happy.
And I am happy right now because I'm looking at y'all. That is grace. Breathe into this space. You take up space in the seat you are sitting in. Breathe into the body that you have, however it showed up so far in your story, with all its bumps and bruises. Intentionally become aware of the awesomeness that sits in that seat. Spiritual mind treatment, I lovingly call training my mind to see the truth of what already exists. I recognize the allness. All of it is moving and breathing and loving and growing and being all at once. Being supported by invisible force that I can barely understand. But all of it I call God in my expression. Sometimes it is Goddess, sometimes the One, sometimes universal life energy. Whatever I decide to call it in my moment, I recognize it is there. And because it's everywhere, then it's where I'm standing right now. And because I can't blip myself out of the universe right now, then I'm going to sit and settle in this fact that everything that is the universe is also me standing in this spot. And all the love that is God is also me. A little dot of all the abundance that is God is me. A little dot of all the grace that is God is also me, because I stand in the essence of the One. I know if it's true for me, it's true for every other person that's ever lived, ever will live. Every other being. They too are a part of the oneness, moving, making decisions, having their beingness in their human story, through the pain, to the strife, through the love, the laughter, all of it is God expressed as human form. And so now I can claim for myself and realize the perfection of who I am standing in this spot. I didn't have to create myself, thank goodness. I'm not responsible for my heartbeat, thank goodness. All I'm responsible for is for recognizing it. And thank goodness, how perfect is it that creation exists here in my body, and all I have to do is breathe and accept it and enjoy it and step from that space of oneness with everything else, recognizing all of it. I'm so grateful for this, for the teaching of the science of mind that opened my mind to this awareness, for consciousnessly shifting in this world, for people recognizing each other as beingness, for the aliveness of the planet, for the growth of the human race. I'm so grateful for love and laughter and grace itself. And I release this now into the law, knowing that the fertile soil of the oneness will take my words and my desires and everything and co-create with me this world that works for everyone. I release it knowing that it's already done. And so it is. Amen. Ashe. Everybody, one of my favorite people, Reverend Cindy Grimes. And Spirit speaks to us through Cindy. Thank you, Cindy. She's hot, y'all. She's hot.
I don't know what's going on.
You're hot. I just heard it. Ooh. Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Thank you, Donna. Love you. Oh, thank you for that beautiful prayer. What is going on here? Do I need a different mic, maybe? Oh, you know it's coming out of here. It's reverbing back at me. Hi, everybody. I'm not going to talk. Let me have the mic. Oh, there we. Is that better?
Yes.
Awesome. Yay. Thank you. And welcome, everyone. You're such a beautiful sight this morning. Thank you, Donna, for that beautiful prayer. You just set it up just perfectly, what we're going to talk about today. So welcome, especially to all our first-time visitors. Thank you so much for being here. I hope that it feels like it was worth your time to get up on a Sunday morning and trudge out and meet some new people and go to a place you've never been. And I'm just committed to having you feel like it was worth your while to be here. So welcome to our space. So I am doing this year, every year we have a theme. Every year it's something different. And this year I decided to do the foundations of this teaching that's called the Science of Mind. We are Centers for Spiritual Living, and we teach a philosophy called the Science of Mind that's over 100 years old, started by a man named Ernest Holmes, who pulled the common threads of the world's great religions and found those spiritual truths. So that's what we teach. So somebody could come in here, presumably, and be a Buddhist or be a Christian or an atheist even, and still find something. And that is my hope, that what we speak here is so universal that it can speak to everybody's heart. So every month is a different aspect of the teaching of our Foundations course, which is a 10-session course, I think, and I've broken it out over the year. So every month is a different topic from Foundations. And if you do the homework assignments and you do the reading at the end of the year, there's an opportunity for folks to do their project and share their project with the community. And I think it's $45 is the registration fee for home office. If people wanted to get credit, you could pay the $45 and have credit for taking Foundations, which is foundational for all the other stuff we do here. If you want to be a volunteer with the kids, or to be speaking up here, or as Donna and Norma have done and become practitioners, taken a lot of courses so that they could then be in service as sort of lay ministers, so to speak. So is that a decent explanation? All right. So I'm asking Norma because Norma always speaks the truth for me. Norma is one of our practitioners, and her other name is the Face of God. There's a story that goes with that, but maybe I'll share that for another time. So anyway, so today we are talking about grace, this idea of living in grace, living in, through, and as grace, being receptive to it. Now, I don't know about you. I was raised in another tradition. I'll just say I was raised Catholic. Okay. And was very there were many, many good things. But there was a lot of things that I felt like I needed to leave behind. And this word grace is one of those that has kind of a religiosity to it. I don't know if that's even a word. But does anyone else have that? Like, grace, and it reminds you, the thing that it reminds me of always is the song Amazing Grace, which is a beautiful song. But there's that lyric, right? Do y'all know the one I'm talking about? Amazing grace, how sweet the sound. That did what? I can't even hardly bring myself to say those words. I just, when I came into New Thought, we know that what we speak is creative. So why in the world would I want to call myself a wretch? It's a beautiful song, but so we changed the words in New Thought. We changed the words, but it does still have kind of that connection. So I did a deep dive into this topic of grace for our talk today, and I'm going to share with you some of what I've learned and how I've kind of turned it around for myself and have it be something that feels really true, and it grows me, and I hope that it is something that is useful for you. So what does grace mean? This is like the dictionary definition of it. The simple elegance or refinement of movement, like somebody who moves with grace. Or courteous goodwill, like somebody, like the good graces, to be in the good graces of a person. So that's the noun. It's like a thing, sort of, kind of, but then it's also a verb. There's also the action part of grace. And so to do honor or credit by one's presence, to grace, like you all have graced me with your presence today, right? That's kind of like the verb of it. And that's the dictionary definition. Now here's the more traditional, that's the sticky parts, like the stuff I don't like, okay? And I'm just gonna read it to you, and I will bypass the Bible references. You can look those up if you want to, but I'm just going to read what this says. And this is from gotquestions.org. Your questions, biblical answers. And it says, to fully understand grace, we need to consider who we were without Christ and who we become with Christ. We were born in sin, and we were guilty of breaking God's holy laws. We were enemies of God, deserving of death. That's rough, huh? That's kind of rough. We were unrighteous and without means of justifying ourselves. Spiritually, it almost makes me laugh. Oh my gosh. Spiritually, we were destitute, blind, unclean, and dead. Our souls were in peril of everlasting punishment. I'm not talking 50 years ago. This is today. Got questions. Here's your answer. But then came grace. God extended his favor to us. Grace is what saves us. It's the essence of the gospel. It gives us victory over sin. Grace gives us eternal encouragement and good hope. Grace is God choosing to bless us rather than curse us as our sin deserves. His benevolence, it is his benevolence to the undeserving. Ooh, there's a whole lot of stuff there. You can see why I was not fond of this word grace. So what did I do? I went and I looked up our New Thought folks and what is it that we teach here in Centers for Spiritual Living and what's taught in Unity and what do the New Thought people teach about grace. And Joel Goldsmith is one of my very favorite New Thought teachers. He's wrote many, many books. He's crystal clear. And so I've taken some of the points of Joel's explanation of grace, and I'm going to share those with you. And then I have the little bit longer version. So I've given you the short one here. I'm going to go ahead and read some of this. In the material or mental sense of life, there are two opposing forces, good and evil. And man is, that's the human part, right? There's good and evil. We talked about yin and yang, darkness and light. Like that's part of the human journey, right? We have these polarities. So he's saying there are these two opposing forces in the material realm, and man is continually reaching for a greater power to overcome another power. But in the spiritual consciousness, now we're talking beyond the material, beyond the human, right? That we are all spiritual beings having a human experience, that there is not two powers or two laws. God is not a power over other powers. God simply is. There is no law of God to overcome the material forces or powers. Okay, so God is the thing. And I'm using the word God, and if that word doesn't work for you, substitute something else, right? Call it universe, call it spirit, call it creator, whatever works for you. Okay, I'm just using it. This is Goldsmith's word, and I personally don't have a problem with it, but I know what it means for me. I don't know what it means for you. So substitute the word that works for you. So there is only one. Second statement here. There is no such thing as a destructive power or law or a devil or Satan. That's what we teach in New Thought. There is no such thing as the devil, as Satan, right? As an opposing power that is as strong as God. That just doesn't make sense, right? Think about it. If we are saying that we believe in this thing that people call God, that is all powerful, that is all knowing, that is everywhere present, how could there be anything else? Right? There's nothing else. There's no opposing power. God created all that was made, and all that God made is good. That's one of the first things the Bible said, right? You are God's universe, children of God, spiritual offspring. How could anything be ordained to destroy you, make you sick, sinful, dead, or poor? Right? So that this thing back here, that's a crock. Just is that simple enough? Okay, next. God's grace is ever with you, and you can rest and relax in that grace, in that good favor that we don't deserve. It's just part of, it's part of the deal. We come into this world. None of us, you brought yourselves here physically today, right? But did any of you bring yourselves into expression? Right? We are born. That's not our doing, right? That beautiful baby, where did he go? His mama was the channel, right? His parents were like the channel for him being born, but they didn't create him, right? Something else brought us into expression. Something else brought us into being, and it must be pretty darn big, right? Must be pretty amazing. So God's grace is ever with you. You can rest and relax in it. You need not seek it, strive for it, or even earn or deserve it. Grace is where you are now. You live and move and have your being in spiritual life and love. Release yourself from the belief in God as a power into the awareness of God as love, flowing as grace. Ooh, that's nice, right? Yeah. Let me say that one again. Release yourself from the belief of God as power into the awareness of God as love, flowing as grace. Now that's a different message, isn't it? Then we have, in spiritual healing and spiritual living, you learn to relax and ask, is there any power apart from God? Is there any power that God must overcome? Ultimately, you will say, no, God is one. And beside God, there's no power, no law, no life, no love. We've already established that, right? Okay. When you overcome the belief that there is something to be overcome, when you overcome the belief that there is something to overcome, then you are in the realm of grace where there are no more battles. Ooh, how many of you long for that? Like to live life in that feeling of, wow, I get to relax. I get to rest in the hands of God, or whatever it is that you call it, right? And know that you are held and you are exactly where you need to be. What a beautiful thing that is. You commune with God and you understand that you live by God's grace. You need not fight. The battle is not yours. Then we have, God is not a power to be used by man. You cannot invoke God power at your will to influence God to do something to your enemy or to your disease. Your prayers will not change God's will or God's purpose. So all those folks praying for their teams to win and for all these various kinds of things, you cannot bend. You cannot have God do your bidding through your prayers. It doesn't change God's mind, okay? Now, we haven't talked about prayer yet. That's happening next month, and Reverend Peggy is going to be speaking. Is that right? Yes, on prayer, and the specific kind of prayer that we do in Centers for Spiritual Living. Now, some people have issues with the word prayer. The word that we use is treatment. I don't like the word treatment. It sounds like, to me, a little bit like, what is it, when you're using jargon? Like, I don't like that. I like to keep it simple. So for me, it's affirmative prayer. So we're going to be talking about that. And prayer does not change God's mind. Prayer does not make God do things for you. What prayer does is it puts you in the right place to receive what is already there for you, right? The gifts of God's grace. It's making our hearts and our minds line up with what it is that is for our highest and best. That's the purpose of prayer in our tradition. Okay, does that make sense? All right, so prayer, God is, and prayer is the way of realization. It's not the way to get God to do our will. Prayer is resting in God's grace, a kind of silent communion, an attitude of listening through which God speaks to us, revealing itself to us. Okay. Let's see if there's anything else. Oh, the last thing. Do we have about problems? Okay. Challenges encourage us to lean on spirit. So he says, in your spiritual life, you do not live on effect, right? We're moving from living in circumstance to accepting our role as co-creators of our experience. And so he says, problems take us from our reliance on material powers, be it money, medicine, or government, to acknowledging God as our supply and as our health and as our source. Now think about this, it's interesting. If we have good health and good supply, we will lean on them and have no need of God. See, so problems help us realize that we need something more and that it is actually there for us. Does all that make sense? So that's kind of the new thought idea of what this is of grace. And it brings together a lot of the ideas we've already talked about, like the idea of oneness. That there is not two powers, but there really is one that encompasses all of it. Right? So how do we then move into experiencing more grace? How many of you would like to feel like more like you're in that realm of grace and you don't have to worry about things because you know that the power that brought you into existence has your back? is not here to punish you, is not here to berate you, or, you know, all of that ugly stuff that we talked about earlier, all that bunk. So this idea comes from Michael Bernard Beckwith. How many of you know Michael Beckwith from the Agape Church in Los Angeles? Agape is, Michael Beckwith came up in Centers for Spiritual Living, which was then called what? United Church of Religious Science. We've had many names. It's a marketing issue. Yeah. We've been Religious Science, we've been Science of Mind, we're now Centers for Spiritual Living. It's all the same thing. And Michael Beckwith is one of us. So he talks about the stages of spiritual growth. And most people start here at this first place. So we move through, there's 4 stages of spiritual growth, according to Beckwith. And I love this model. We start out with, most of us, and I don't know percent-wise, I don't know if anyone's done a study on this, but I'm going to guess that at least 98% of the population is living here in victim consciousness. So what does that mean? Feeling like life is happening to them, like they are victims of circumstance, living in fear and survival mode, right? Feeling like they have no control over circumstance and the things that happen to them. Has anyone ever felt that? Did you feel it this morning a little bit? No. So here's the thing now. We move through these cycles of growth. Some people never get out of this one. Some people never, ever move from that. But you can move. You can move to the next level, but then you can drop back. Like, we bounce around all of these. I don't think any of us stays in that final, you'll see what the 4th one is. I don't think anyone gets to stay there. We kind of bounce around. So don't feel bad when you fall into victim consciousness. You just catch it. No, I haven't finished yet. So here's the next stage, right? We go from victim consciousness to manifestor consciousness. Now, how many of you got really excited, like when you found The Secret and the law of attraction, right? You start finding this stuff and you go, oh my gosh, maybe I'm not a victim. Maybe I'm actually a co-creator, that life is happening, by me, right? That you accept responsibility. You start learning the spiritual tools. You start taking the classes. You start doing the affirmations. And life starts to turn around for you. You start to, like, I want to have that parking space right in front of Publix when I get there. And you visualize it. Anybody else do that kind of stuff, right? Yeah, sure. That's being the manifester. That's manifestor consciousness, where you're making things happen. So there are invitations in all of this, and I'm going to dig in a little bit deeper after I go through all 4 of them, and then we'll go into the invitations. So then we can move from victim consciousness to manifestor consciousness, then to becoming an instrument. Make me an instrument of your peace, right? You become a conduit. Life is happening through you, right? We start to awaken even more, that we go into our faith and surrendering, right, into the grace, that believing that this God thing, this thing that brought us into existence, wants you to thrive, wants you to experience life to its fullest. You start to believe that, right? And really start to live as an instrument of God's peace and love and joy and all that great stuff. And then some of us get to move into this one consciousness where life is happening as me, where I recognize and feel, you recognize and feel yourself as the living, breathing, moving expression of spirit itself, which is exactly what you are. It's exactly what all of us are. But it takes a while. We don't get to just jump to this, especially with all of the programming and all of the things that we are taught as children, and all of that stuff about being awful wretches and sinners and horrible people that need the church to make them worthy enough to even be considered to go to heaven. It's just really, I told you, I forget your name, but Joshua, that I was going to share things today that require us to not make mental gymnastics to make it work, right? This stuff kind of makes sense to me. The other stuff doesn't make sense. And for anybody who's looking at that, life is happening to me, oneness with all life, to be one with God, source, love, and you're thinking, no, I'm not worthy. right? I'm not worthy. I found the words of a Catholic priest of all things, Father Thomas Keating, who I believe his big contribution is contemplative prayer. And he said this: it's our duty to become God. If you don't want to become God, you've missed the boat. If you're too humble to think you can become God, if you think you're not worthy, that is false humility, because it's not your decision. It's God's decision. Again, substitute the word of your choice, right? This power brought us into existence expecting, or that we would, so that we could live life to the fullest. I don't know that it has expectation. It just is, right? So why not live the fullest? So when we go back to that idea of the victim consciousness, that's the person who's living in the blame and shame. And the chart here on the side comes from the work of David Hawkins, who wrote a book called Power versus Force. And he's taken all these human emotions and put them on a scale. And you'll see it makes a whole lot of sense. There is some science behind it. I'm not going to get into the whole thing. We've got the book in the bookstore there. But if you look at these, I don't know if you can see from where you are, but at the very bottom, the very worst emotion, feeling, life view is shame, right? Can you think of anything that feels worse than shame? I think he's right. Shame is like the worst thing that there is. And then from shame, we move up to guilt. Now, the difference between shame and guilt is when we're in shame, we are believing that we are bad. There is something wrong with me, right? I am bad. Versus guilt, I did something wrong. Do you see the distinction between that? Right? It's not claiming that you are this vile, wretched, horrible sinner. That's shame. And that's most of what most religion is putting out there, is that we aren't worthy because we're so shameful. For what? For just being born? Again, it doesn't make sense, right? So you move up from shame to guilt, and then you can move up to apathy. It's funny to think that that's a move upward, right? Now, I like to think of our emotions as kind of our inner GPS, right? Most of us want to be at the top somewhere, don't you? At least in, peace, enlightenment, joy, love, all the good stuff is up there. But these are all human emotions that we all have. There's nothing wrong with them. It's just kind of a pointer of where you are, right? It's to let you know where you are. If you're down in, let's say, guilt, and then you do something to alleviate that guilt, like you make amends, you make things right, you get to move up the scale, right? If you're sitting on your yoga mat and you're having a wonderful, blissful moment, it's all good. And then you get out in your car and somebody cuts you off in traffic and you drop down to anger or fear. That's probably not the direction you want to go, right? Most of us want to be headed that way. So it's just a way for you to know, like get a sense of where you are and which way do you want to move. All of the good stuff in this chart here tips over at the point of courage, which also makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Right? So when we want to move from victim consciousness to that manifestor consciousness, the key is to release blame and shame. Now, Brené Brown says that shame exists in secrecy, in silence, and in judgment. Right? Secrecy, silence, and judgment make shame grow exponentially. So I'm going to invite you, we have practitioners here, there's myself, Reverend Peggy, that if there are things in your story, in your background that are still bringing you shame and you want to be able to speak that and be seen and release it, we can do that with you. We would be glad to do that with you, because that is the worst feeling there is, to be in that. And we don't need to be there. Remember, God created us. Source created each one of us, and it was good. And it's still good. Right? So release the story, releasing the shame and the blame. The blame is for other people. Right? We did a forgiveness workshop last week so that we could forgive ourselves and forgive others, so that then we can create that clearing. because shame is the antithesis of grace. It's saying the exact opposite of grace, isn't it? So we embrace responsibility, compassion, and accountability. Embrace if you have done something to cause harm to another person, you have the ability to respond and to make things right. That's taking accountability. And then we have compassion for ourselves and for other people. So this is about releasing ourselves and others from that emotional attachment that has us down at the bottom of the scale, which is not where any of us want to be. Does that make sense? Okay. So the next thing for living in grace, the manifestor consciousness was about control, like it's all by me, right? I'm the one that's in control. I get to choose where I focus my thoughts and my attention. And there's a willpower that comes with that. There's a work, right? It feels like effort to do that. So the invitation to move from that manifestor consciousness into the next level, right, of being like the channel of peace is to release control. Realize that you don't have to do everything. You're not boss of the world. In fact, whatever ideas you have about control are probably an illusion anyway, right? So we're saying not only release control, but release the illusion of control, right? Because the truth is that there's a whole lot of stuff going on around us that we have no control over. We can control our thinking. We can control to some degree, right? We can control where we choose to focus our attention. Those are things that are within our control. But what I'm asking is for you to embrace faith, surrender to life, and welcome it to flow through you. Just surrender, embrace, and surrender into life, knowing that it's got you. And if you can live from that space, what would be possible for you? If you weren't continually gripping, holding on, of feeling like it has to be this way and I have to make it happen. I'm getting ready to take a sabbatical for 3 months. Whew. And I'm having a little anxiety about this, releasing control, because it means other people are going to be in the pulpit and I have to make sure I've got X, Y, Z and I've dotted all my I's and crossed all my T's and all of that control stuff. So I'm right here working in this right now of releasing control and surrendering into that faith of knowing that Spirit's got this. I don't need to sweat it. There are things that I need to do, yes. In this human realm, right, the human life, there are things I need to take care of. But ultimately, I have to know that the power and presence that brought me here is going to carry me through, and it's going to carry each one of us. That same power and presence lives and breathes through each one of you. And I don't have to be responsible for that. And isn't that wonderful? Isn't that a blessing? So releasing control. The next thing is living in, through, and as grace, releasing that sense of personal separation. I think it's Einstein said that we suffer from a delusion of consciousness, of this idea that we are all separate. And I show a video often, I'll probably post it on our Facebook. Somebody remind me to do that, where you look at the individual and the camera kind of zooms out from her eyes and it keeps zooming and zooming and zooming and it takes you into outer space. And then it comes back and it zooms back into her eyes and it goes inside, and like her blood vessels and the cells and the molecules. And on both ends of the spectrum, it looks very similar, right? Those atoms and molecules look a lot like planets and stars and solar systems. It's really, really incredible. We are all part of this one universe. We feel like we're separate because I can't know your thoughts. I can't know your feelings. I can't know what your consciousness is showing you. So it feels like I'm separate. But the fact is that we are all part of this much larger human family and then the universe, right? So when we can train ourselves, when we can remember that we are part of something much bigger, embracing our divinity, as Father Thomas Keating said, it's not up to you. You're God's stuff. Now you can deny it, or you cannot see it, not accept it, and your life will go one kind of way. When you embrace the possibility of what this has to offer you. Everything is possible. Remember, and also remember, you're in the world. You're not of it. We are each in the world. We're not of it. There's a whole lot of crazy happening out in the world today. And sometimes I just sit back and go, wow, what is this? How many of you have seen the Wizard of Oz? You know that scene in the Wizard of Oz where Dorothy has worked so hard and she finally makes it to, where is it that they're going? The Emerald City. Yes, exactly. She's at the Emerald City. And Toto jumps out of her arms and he goes to the curtain and he pulls it back. And she sees the wizard who she thought was this amazing thing. And it turns out he's just an old man talking into a microphone, making stuff up. Whose voice is amplified. Yeah. So he's louder. People listen more maybe because his voice is amplified. I don't know. But it feels to me like that's what life is like lately. Like there's just a whole lot of stuff that is nonsense, that doesn't make sense, right? That the wool has been pulled over our eyes, when the fact is that we're all human beings on this journey just trying to make the best of it. And nobody really knows much more than anybody else. Some of us a little bit more. That's why we come to places like this, so that we can have our lives work better. So releasing your sense of personal separation, transcending your ego, embrace your divinity. I've been thinking about moments of grace in my life, and there's one that keeps coming up because I'm working with someone right now to submit an application to speak for TEDx. I spoke, it was the first one for TEDx Ocala back in 2015. And it was a big deal. It was a big deal, as you can imagine, to have that out there. And so there was a lot of rehearsal. There was writing the talk. There were all of these people that I got advice from, and people that listened, and just a whole lot that went into it. And the day of the performance, was it a performance? Not really a performance. Presentation, the talk. I'm backstage. I'm the first one to go, and I'm standing. The curtain is here. I can hear them introducing me, and I'm just so grateful. Like, oh my gosh. Suddenly everything that led up to that moment came through my mind. All of the people, all of the practices, all of the things that I'm telling you about. And I was so overwhelmed. I was overwhelmed with gratitude. I started like tearing up, and I was feeling like I was just going to start bawling. And they're introducing me, and it's like, girl, get yourself together. Can't go out on stage. I mean, here it's okay when I cry, right? We see it's holy water. That's TEDx. They're like recording, and it's going to be there for however long, So get yourself together, girl. And so I did. I said that thank you to everybody, and I stepped out on the stage. And as I stepped out and the curtain went behind me, it felt all of the fear, all of the anxiety, everything just fell away. I couldn't make that happen. I don't know how that happened. I just know that it did. And it was that I went out on that stage, and it was grace. And I was talking to the biggest talk of my life to that moment. And it was the easiest. Somehow I was just talking to a group of friends, even easier than some Sundays here. Like I was just talking to people like we were friends. And there was even a point where I missed something I wanted to say, and it was like no big deal. I was the calmest. You could have taken my blood pressure. I'm sure it was like normal. Like I can't explain that other than it was grace. It was a performance. It was a presentation. But it was an amazing moment. It was an amazing moment. And I do think that being in gratitude was one of the things that allowed that to happen in that moment. I couldn't have asked for it. I didn't even know such a thing was possible. But I was in that gratitude of just thank you, God, and to all the people that made that moment possible for me. So gratitude helps us move into that space of grace, and giving thanks in all things, in all moments, right? Even when the things are not looking so good, even when it's scary, there's something always. In fact, those are the times when you need to dig in and find the gratitude even more, because it will help to pull you out of that scary, sad, whatever place. You know, gratitude becomes our practice, right? Yes, yes. And so the last thing I'll leave you with this idea: trust God, love people. Trust God, love people. If you flip it the other way, it doesn't always work so good, right? Have you ever trusted somebody that was not worth trusting? Yeah, and it messes with you, right? It messes with you because the truth is that people are, as I said last week, I use the word sinners, but I'm using it in the New Thought context, right? What does anybody remember? What does that word mean? It means missing the mark. That's all it means, missing the mark of perfection. That's what the word sin actually means. It doesn't mean you're a horrible, miserable, shameful wretch. It just means that you're a human being who makes mistakes like other human beings do. So we human beings, we make mistakes. Sometimes we embellish. Sometimes we don't tell truths. Sometimes we hurt people. It's not always intentional, right? So it's not always great to put your trust in people. But when you're on the path and when you have done the work and you learn how to trust yourself, that's the most important piece, to trust the power and presence that lives and resides in you, so that you know when the circumstance happens, you know what to do. Either yes, I go along with what they're saying, or no, I don't. And it's okay. It's not about them, right? So we trust spirit, we trust God, we trust the life force that breathes through us, that life force that's keeping your heart beating, the life force that birthed you into existence, the life force that keeps the stars and the sun and like all of the order of our universe. Trust that. That's worth trusting, right? That's worth trusting. And then we love people. We love people. We have compassion for people in all of their humanness. And we have compassion for ourselves when we make mistakes, right? We have compassion, we have love, and then we release it, right? Trust God, love people. It's a nice recipe. Yeah. So the kingdoms of consciousness, or the stages of consciousness, y'all remember what we talked about? What's the first one? The victim, right? And don't be surprised. You may be in here and you're feeling all the love and it's all wonderful, and walk out the door and you may feel victimized, maybe. Maybe something happens, somebody says something, somebody does fall back into that victim mode. It's okay. It's okay. Just pick yourself up and know that that's not the truth. And you can move through that, right? Then we have the manifestor consciousness, right? Which is what we're using to get our parking spaces and our visualizations to get your house and your perfect mate and all that wonderful stuff, right? Life happening because of you. And the invitation is to release that, right? Release the control of feeling like you have to do these things. Then we move into what's next? The instrument, being the instrument, right? Of life working through you, of being the conduit. Right? But again, we just relax back into that knowing that there is something bigger, bolder, wiser, than more loving than anything else that we can do on our own or be on our own. And trust that you're a part of that. Okay? All right. So I have a prayer I'm going to close with. Now, here's our affirmation. And we do affirmations so that you can use them. You know, take a picture of it, put it on your refrigerator, use it for the week if it brings you, if it's good for you. Always just an invitation. So our affirmation is, I live in, through, and as grace, easily releasing all that does not serve my highest and best. Okay. Do y'all want to say it? Yes, let's say it together. All right, let's do that. Say it all together. I live in, through, and as grace, easily releasing all that does not serve my highest and best. Excellent. And so it is. So I'm going to invite you now to just take your attention. We'll do a little closing prayer, one that I've adapted from Joel Goldsmith. And I'm going to invite you to close your eyes or just do soft focus. And take a nice deep breath, both your feet on the ground. And breathe in and feel yourself get more and more comfortable. And just relax into that power and presence, into that grace of spirit that brought you here today. And give thanks. And now ponder the great world in which you live, in which there are no powers external to you, and the only power within you is the grace of God. You need not pray to it for anything. You need not tell it of your needs, because it is infinite intelligence. It is divine love. It knows your need before you do, and it is its good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Rest in it. Rest in the grace of the divine. God's grace is thy sufficiency in all things. Be a beholder and watch grace flow as you withdraw from the battle of life, as you withdraw from the struggle to overcome, to challenge, or to change, as you settle back in the assurance that God's grace is my sufficiency in all things. I live not by might, nor by power, but by the Spirit of God within. So rest. Surrender into spirit and know that it will never leave you, nor forsake you. Look unto the kingdom of God within you and be saved from fear and doubt. Thou shalt not fear what mortal man can do to you. Thou shalt not fear what mortal conditions can do to you. God's grace is your sufficiency. If you make mistakes, it is there. Throughout the storms of life, it is there. There is no need to fight wind or waves. We simply say, peace, be still, and know that I am. We give thanks for sufficiency. We give thanks for peace. We give thanks for love. We give thanks for living in, through, and as grace, easily releasing all that does not serve our very highest and best. I release this affirmation and prayer to the law, knowing it is already done. And take a deep breath and bring your attention back to this place. And we say together, and so it is. And so it is. All right. And now we have a song by our Joyful Noise team. This is a beautiful, beautiful song. The title of it is Grace and Gratitude. Grace and Gratitude. And I believe it was originally produced or sung by Olivia Newton-John.
She does have beautiful music other than the stuff that was on the radio.
All I have and all I feel is all because of you. All I read and all I saw, and love is our living proof. Thank you for love. Thank you for everything. I stand here in grace and gratitude, and I thank you. Seasons come and seasons go, no matter what we choose. 1,000 names, 1,000 roads, all lead to one simple truth. You for love. Thank you for everything. I stand here in grace and gratitude, and I thank you. Thank you for everything. I stand here in grace and gratitude, and I thank you. Thank you for everything. I stand here in grace and gratitude, and I thank you. I thank you.
Thank you. Am I on? Yes, yes. Thank you, Joyful Noise. Gosh, I wanted to sing that song. I just could not get a waterworks started. So it was going to be one of those moments. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Very well done. All right. So this is the time during our service where we celebrate our abundance and give thanks for our gifts and our tithes. And we do that by paying it forward. Right. As we give, as we receive that grace, for us to keep that in motion as we give back. Right. We give and we receive and we give, and it just keeps it in motion. So whatever it is that you want to receive more of, that you want to have more of in life, whether it is friendship, whether it's money, right? All the goodness, that we give it and we put that in motion. And so I'm going to invite Reverend Peggy to do our prayer. She's always such a wonderful role model for me. Oh, microphone. Yes.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Yeah, so let's do our affirmation together first, shall we? It is the nature of life to give of itself, as it is the tree's nature to bear fruit and the flower's nature to bloom. It is my nature to share the gifts of my time, talent, and treasure. I participate in the divine flow of life, giving generously and receiving abundantly. I am blessed and I am a blessing. I am grateful. And so the basket is going around, and also Pam has prayer requests. So if you would like to put a prayer request in of the prayer team, raise your hand and she will come to you and bring you a prayer request. And those will be prayed about by the ministers and practitioners here this week, all week. I don't know whether Reverend Cindy, when she goes on sabbatical, will be praying with us every week. If that's something she's taking a break from, you will. You will.
Yes.
Okay, you will.
I will.
Okay,
I
so
will.
that's good.
I'm not taking a break from prayer.
Okay, she's not taking a break from prayer. Yeah. Yeah. You know, the wonderful thing about giving is we have lots of ways to do it, don't we? And that's true in our personal lives. So, one of the ways to give is to text to give. And there's a phone number on your screen there, 352-320-5110. Or go to the website, CSL Ocala, and hit the donate button or just /donate. I love the idea that I give automatically from my bank the first part of the month. I thought of that this morning when I was on my way in here. You know, over the years, I would rush around and write a check on my way to church on Sunday. How many of you got in the habit of that over the years? And you rushed around and you got that check made, and it somehow diminished the Sunday experience. I love now that my gift to the center beat me here this week. And I didn't have to think about it until I thought about it. And I thought, oh, that's done. Check that off my list. And I did get an email from my bank that said that it came. And there's also a kiosk out here, I think, that you can give in the coffee room. As we turn within in this place of gratitude, I invite us to be in this understanding of grace that Reverend Cindy spoke so well to us this morning. That we have forever the love and the givingness of Spirit pouring itself upon us, and that our lives are blessed before we even recognize that. And then as it comes to our givingness, we're in that flow. You know, Spirit is living us, and then we have ways that we give back. And one of the ways that give back and we keep that circulation going is to give to this center. And if you're here for the first time, I would like to welcome you. I don't come here often. I've retired from this center 9 years ago, but I do show up once in a while, and I love to see new faces. And I love the idea that those that have given in the past mean the center is here, and that those who give now make sure it's ongoing. And that the gift of this teaching in this center thrives because of the givingness of volunteers, in money, in all the ways that you can bless one another by being who you are in this wonderful spiritual community. So let's turn within, shall we? Recognizing the allness of the divine. The God is forever giving to us. The universe is forever pouring itself upon us. That our lives are rich and growing richer as we give thanks for it. As we recognize that that is what is happening, that we have lots of channels of good in our lives and one infinite source from which all good comes. I do give thanks for the tithes and offerings that have come in all the various ways that they come to this center, knowing that this center is thriving because of the givingness of each one, and because each person who gives life is thriving because they are in this flow of God's grace and givingness. I give thanks also for prayer requests. And for those that have yet to put in a prayer request, to go ahead and do that before you leave today, knowing that there's a strong team of prayers here that know that the answer to your prayer already exists in divine mind. And that as we have that knowingness, we open the way for its divine unfoldment to bless the life of those who have requested prayer. I give thanks that all of this is already so. And let us say together, and so it is.
Thank you, Reverend Peggy. As always, so beautiful. You see why she's my mentor. And for our first-time visitors, Reverend Peggy was the minister here for 20 years. When I walked in the door and said, wow, I'm home. I'm home. And she helped me make that bridge from to become a minister myself. I wouldn't be standing here without that woman. So eternally grateful. So what's going on here? If you would like to know about our upcoming events and what's happening, our themes for the month and all, you can sign up for our newsletter. We'll make sure that you get that at cslocala.org. The June one is already out, but if you want to read it, we'll make sure that you get it. And then our events, what's going on. So Circle Sunday next week. Every week is a little something different here. The first week of the month, we do a spiritual practice, which is more like a workshop atmosphere. So it's more interactive than this. Like we set up at tables and things like that. And then Super Second Sunday is this is the most traditional church service we do. And then next week, the third Sunday of the month, we do Circle Sunday. So there'll be a short overview of the topic, and then we break out into small groups, and we have 3 or 4 questions that people answer in the small groups in Circle. So it kind of expands everybody's understanding and awareness of the topics that we're talking about. It really is it's a wonderful thing. People either love it or they walk in and see, oh, small groups, I'm out of here. So just letting you know it has happened. But how many of you love our small group Sunday, like our Circle Sunday? Yeah, there are people here who won't miss a Circle Sunday. It really is, it is a special time and a great way to get to know other people in the center, the rest of the community. On the 4th Sunday, we have Galen Grigas, who is actually out of town this month. She is presenting at the International MAPS Conference in the Netherlands from her book, Psychedelic Streams and Rituals. Yeah, we love Galen. And so that happens 4th Sunday. This Sunday, or the 4th Sunday this month, because Galen is out of town, we have someone in the ministerial program, Sherry Cunningham, is going to be speaking that Sunday on metaphysics and not the psychedelics as much, but dreams and rituals as part of that 3-part chord that Galen talks about of non-ordinary states of consciousness. So it's going to be really, it should be really fun. And then the Prism Market is the following week. Whenever there's a 5th Sunday, we do what's called the Prism Market. This room transforms again, and we invite different folks from the community to share their gifts, their services, their products, whatever they might have. And so you can come in, and it's, I think, from 10 to 4. Is that right? 10 to 4, yes. And if anybody, do we still have room for folks? We're doing inside and outside, so there's space. If you have something that you would like to share, again, a service or product, and have a table set up for folks in the community, you're welcome to do that. So vendors, food, music, workshops, it's a lot of fun. Let's see, Joyful Expressions auditions for our performance team. That is coming up in July. So if you would like to, if you play an instrument, if you want to sing, it's a great time. What? Change the date to July 7th. Disregard the date. Okay, 7/7 at 7? Yeah. Okay, wonderful. All right, 7. Okay, July 7th at 7 p.m. So 7/7 at 7. There we go. And that is for singers and instrumentalists. We have many volunteer opportunities. Cole, raise your hand back there. Cole is our volunteer coordinator. Thank you so much. If there are things that you would like to do at the center, if there are ways that you would like to share your gifts, we are very open to that. And where is Teresa? I know she's real quiet back there, but a shout out to Teresa Bauer for the signs that have shown up around the center. They're absolutely beautiful. Here is somebody, a newcomer, who walked in and recognized a need and said, you know, I'd like to offer my talent and my gifts in doing that. And that's what she did. And I'm so grateful. How about that? Yes. So it's noticed. And then go ahead, Karen. Yes, there's ones outside on the path. So thank you so much. We have volunteers. She is one of them. And then we've got Valerie that come in here and clean our building so that it's a nice space before you come in. And we've got our tech team over there. Richard, my gosh, I don't know how many days you have been in here wiring things so all of these TVs could communicate. Yes, please, let's give him a incredible. He handles our social media, our Facebook page, which is now over 16,000 likes. And last Sunday's talk was, we had like over 4,000. We were at 4.2 when I looked at it. Like who? What? How is this happening in little old Ocala, right? I don't know that 4,000 people are watching, but they're clicking. So, we're getting out there. It's a wonderful thing. So thank you. And this, look, did you see? Our tree of life is now lit up. Thank you, Richard. It's just, he likes to keep it quiet back there, but I just got to just give him a pat on the back. Oh, so many wonderful things. Our youth department, our littles are coming. Are we ready to bless our little people? It's awful. Yeah, they got quiet. Let's wait for our little people. Let the music play? All right. We'll let the music. Oh, they know that's the call. That's the call. Yes. We heard them a little bit. So now we invite our little people to come to the front, and we want to send them a nice blessing. Gone are the days where kids were meant to be seen and not heard. Our kids are seen and they are heard and they are appreciated and loved. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, shine. Shine, shine. Shine, shine. Wow. Did y'all know there were that many kids back there? They were pretty good. Oh, there's more. There's more coming. All right. Okay. They're not coming. All right. Okay. All right. All right. So now, we just encourage you to and to honor the child within yourself too, right? So what we like to do, this is just a fun little thing. It's not a weird. It may be weird. I don't know. We rub our hands together. Rub your hands together and send some energy to our little people, or if you want to hold a hand to yourself and acknowledge yourself. And what we say is up there. It says, we honor you. We see your light. May it shine on all that you do. And so it is. And so it is. Does anyone want to tell us what you all did back there? You played? Oh, puppet show. Puppets. You got pictures of the puppet show, and yeah. I think Chloe's telling us what they did back there. She was in it. All right. Thank you, everybody. Oh, so beautiful. And welcome to little Ace, another first-time visitor. Yay, Ace. All right. What else? Yes. Yes. Here. Go ahead. Go ahead, princess. Is it on? It's not on.
I can talk loudly though. Everyone
Go
can
ahead.
hear me. Hello, is that better?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Casey Powell. My friends and family call me Princess. It's a nickname that I got from being a circus performer. Originally from Kansas, I've lived here in Florida for about 3.5 years. And to help you kind of move out of that step one, I started a program about 2014, and it's now developed into the current workshop series that I'm teaching. That is a 4-workshop series called Intuitive Skills. Intuitive Skills Divinity, where we talk about the divination through the body. And then we have the numbers game, which is similar to numerology, but a lot more fun. And then the 4th part is going to be manifestation. But this Wednesday night here at the Center for Spiritual Living is the first part of those 4-part series. So it starts at 6. It's a 90-minute interactive experience. And I can't tell you the sheer power and magicness is a new word, that happens when we get these people together. And there's going to be hands-on practice, and the community that you build and the experience that you have there is definitely going to last a lifetime. So I want to invite you all out for that, and thank you for welcoming me.
Thank you, Princess. Thank you. Thank you. Sounds good. Develop your intuitive skills. That can only be good, right? All right. Is that it? I think that's everything. I think that brings us to our close. Yes. And so if you would like to say this together, it's a nice thing. Again, the word God is there, but just roll with it. It's a beautiful, this prayer comes from our friends at Unity, James Dillett Freeman, and it's called a prayer for protection. So the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And so it is. Have a fabulous, I think we have food back there. I smell food too. I smell food. I see food. You want to say anything back there?